Well, hello there, and welcome to Musasma Soul training module. I'm pretty excited today as I'll be taking you through Microsoft Word 101. I happen to have installed my Microsoft Word software earlier on. If you haven't installed one, you can log on to Microsoft's website to download one or get one from a local vendor. So let's get started. Well, I'll click on my Start menu and navigate to all applications. This is where I have already installed my Microsoft Word software. So I'll scroll through to get my Microsoft Word. Of course, I'll go through the arranged in letters there, and I have Microsoft Office 2013 there. So I'll click on the drop down and I have all the Microsoft family that come in with the package. Of course, my interest is Microsoft Word, so I'll just basically scroll down a little, and here we go, Microsoft Word 2013. I'll click on the start, and this is how we launch. So this is the first interface of Microsoft Word, and of course I can start my document from the recent items that I have already worked on earlier on, and of course I can also work with a new document, and of course other templates that are pre-designed based on different designs. For example, if I want a resume, if I want a newsletter, if I want a letter, I have the ability to just click and of course start typing directly on the fields that are given. Well, in today's session we'll be using the blank document, which is why we are really calling this session Microsoft Word 101. So when I click on the blank document, this is the interface of Microsoft Word. So this is how it looks like. For example, you're here and you don't know how I got here. You can still get to this particular position if you click on the file menu and navigate to new. And of course from new, you'll get away again to the very start window. And if I click on new blank, and then again, I've created another one. How do I know there are two? I'll just bring my pointer at the top here, which drag it down, and then you can see I have two. Well, I don't really need two of these, so the only thing I'll do is to kill one on the X command, which I believe you're now used to, and that. So before we begin any essential typing, I like us to walk around the interface and get to notice how it works. Well, I'll start on my top left location here, this region here. This is what I'm calling the quick access toolbar. Well, the quick access toolbar allows you basically to access commands very quickly without actually having to navigate through hundreds of commands on the ribbon. The quick access toolbar comes in by default with 3 commands. The commands are save, undo, and redo. Well, save is quite self-explanatory there. It's all about keeping reference. While undo means when you do something, you need to go back. For example, you step on hot charcoal, you get burned, and you remove your feet. That is undoing. Well, the last command there is redo. Well, what redo does actually is when you undo something, you can actually go back to the state you were before you undid. That's interesting. That's the quick access toolbar. Not forget at the very top section I have the title area. So I have the name of the document, which happens to be document 1, and I have the program that I am working on. Now if I am to save this document with a different name, the name document 1 will automatically change to that name of my choice. For example, if I save my document as memo, so I'll not have document 1, but I'll have memo, then Word. Word means that's the document. At the very far right section, I have very familiar commands. The question mark, which means help, and of course the minimize, the ribbon, the hide and display, the minimize command, the restore button, and of course I have the X for the close. You notice as I hover my pointer over various items, I get a word that appears under. These words that appear whenever I hover on a particular command is what we call the tooltips. Well, they tell us more about a particular item before we even click on it. That's how friendly Microsoft is anyway to us. Now another complicated area is this region all the way from the left section to the right section. This is what I'm calling the ribbon. Well, some of you are asking the ribbon. Well, the ribbon is composed of three main parts that I'll be taking you through. At the very top section of the ribbon is the items I usually call the tabs. The tabs are very important because they hold the main commands of the ribbon. If I click on a particular tab, insert, you see items changing down on the ribbon. So design, page layout, references, mailing, all the way up to view. Well, somebody is asking, what does Nitro Pro 9 do? Well, this happens to be a plugin that I have installed alongside my Nitro Pro 9. It's actually a PDF editor. You might not be having that anyway. So these items I'm able to see at the very top section is what I'm calling the tabs. Well, file is not actually a tab because it basically does different things. Look at when I click on home and how the tabs do change. But if I click on file, well, it gives you a menu. So file is more of a menu item compared to the tabs that I have at the very top section. Well, every tab that I click has elements. So these elements are grouped together, all divided by a vertical line on each. For instance, from the very left section to where there's a vertical line, that's a group. Another line all the way to where I have another line, that's another group. The names of the groups are usually listed or written under there. For instance, from the left to where I have a vertical line, I have a clipboard group. Next, from the line to the next line that follows along is the font group. Well, all these groups are there to define particular commands that are related in some way. At the bottom right of every single group that we are working on, we have this symbol here. Just make sure that you see that, this one here. This symbol represents a dialog box launcher. And of course, if I click on that, you can notice that I get a dialog box. So this dialog box allows me to access various commands that are actually on the paragraph group. If I am to click on one that is on the font group, then I get a variety of options that are based on the font group. For example, I have font type, I have font size, and this happens to be the same commands I get here. This is the font size and this is the font type. Not forgetting about color, which basically is all over here. I can choose the colors. Similarly, I'll select the colors from here. So I'll close that. I don't really need it. That's what we call the groups. The last part of the ribbon is what we call the commands. These are the actual items or elements that activate a particular action. For example, this command represents paste. This is cut, copy, and they are very independent in what they do. The B here on the font group is a command on its own. It does bold, and of course I have the others here. Notice that when I'll be giving instructions throughout this course, I'll be giving directions based on tabs, groups, and the actual commands on the interface. Well, we have several commands on our workspace, and of course we'll be using most of them. Now, at the very bottom left location of your software is what we call the status bar. The blue line you're seeing under there, all the way from the left section to the right section. This has much information about what is entailed in your document. And of course I can tell I'm on page 1 of 1. I don't have any word, so it's 0. And of course this symbol here represents typing. Whenever I start typing, you'll be able to see that symbol do some magic. I have the far right section here, and of course I have document views. We'll be getting to learn about them in the subsequent courses as we learn Microsoft Word. And of course I have this item here, very interesting. Most students tell me it's a volume. Well, I tend to disagree. It's basically a zoom option. If I drag the slider to the right section, I zoom in, and if I drag it to the left, I zoom out. I have also the liberty to click on the plus symbol severally depending on the zoom option that I want. And of course I can tell what percentage I'm zooming on this percentage symbol here. Most people opt to use a shortcut whereby they click on that particular symbol and they can actually zoom the document depending on how they feel like. That is also accepted in Microsoft Word whenever you're working with it. So I'll cancel that interface. You'll agree with me that on the interface here we have the document area, which represents the typing area, just like a foolscap. It has the borders, of course, the edges of the paper. And I can tell there's one on the east and the west, and of course there's a narrow line that is blinking just somewhere in a document. Well, the blinking item there, or the pipe symbol that is blinking, is what we actually call the cursor. Well, the cursor helps me to know that if I am to type in this particular document, it will basically start from that position. Well,